Hello. All right, we are going to talk about this messy, sticky middle of progress. I am coaching Karolina. She was on Half Size Me podcast episode 547 and 548. So if you want to go check that out, that's in iTunes or Google Play or whatever app you're using. And we are now up to 11 coaching calls, and all of those are being released to our podcast premium subscribers. If you're interested, halfsizeme.com/fan. But the reason I wanted to come on today is I want to talk about something that we kind of had a breakthrough in our 11th call together, which is she has reduced her binging. She's enjoying fast food. She's in this weird limbo state where she's no longer doing the thing she did at the beginning of our coaching. She's noticing a huge pivot in how she feels and wants to take care of herself, but she's also not at what she calls fitness girl. So the reason Karolina has struggled for a long time is because she was either all in on the binging and being kind of self-destructive with food, or she was in this fitness girl world where she was like, nope, not going to eat any of that, not going to have fast food, not going to have ice cream, not going to have treats, not going to have candy, and I'm going to buckle down, I'm going to lose the weight. And so she clearly saw these two distinctly different, avatars, if you will, binge Karolina and then fitness Karolina. And I gave her an example, and I think this is really good for everybody. I said, picture a number line. 0 is the center. You got your negative digits to the left, positive digits to the right. I said binge Karolina would be a negative 10, right? So there she is at a negative 10. And then fitness girl Karolina would be at a positive 10. So I asked her, I said, how many steps is there between those two? And she's like, well, 20. Negative 10 to 0 is 10 steps. 0 to positive 10 is another 10 steps. I said, okay. So I said, you're not ordering fast food, you're not binging like you were doing, you're occasionally overeating, all this good progress has happened. I said, you went from a negative 10 to like a negative 7 or 8, right? You're moving down the number line. But when she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't know who she is. Because she's like, who is this weird person? I'm in this weird limbo place. And we've all been there, right? Like transformation happens that way. In our mind, often we only know where we have been and where we want to end up. But what we don't see are all those steps in between those two people. And that's what I tried explaining to her, that every decision you make is either I told her, I said, put 2 jars on the kitchen counter. Fitness Karolina, binge Karolina. I said, ask yourself what the decision is you're making, whose life does it represent? Because what she also has struggled with is, since I don't know who I am and I'm in this weird limbo place, if I have an off eating meal, does that mean I'm still my old self? And can I not make a move in the right direction, right? So what I told her is, like, for example, okay, you choose to have McDonald's for breakfast. Maybe you would put one in your old jar. But let's say you go for your 10-minute walk, which is a new habit you're bringing in to create fitness Karolina. You would put a thing in there. Her mind went completely, she was like, what? I can kind of be working on both at the same time. And I told her, I said, if you think of it really logically, if you keep pushing these habits that represent more fitness Karolina, then over time you become her. You move further down the number line, right? Less binging, less overeating, less abusing yourself with food, not doing your self-care routine and all that kind of stuff. You move further away from that number and you're moving closer to fitness Karolina. And this is true for you too. See, our brain, especially your lower brain, wants to see everything in black and white, all or nothing. I'm either the binge version of me, the person who doesn't care, not eating, doing all the things, or it sees me as the ideal version of where I want to go. But to get from one place to the other requires a lot of change. So I want to encourage you to start to think about this differently. Picture, and I actually had her do this in our coaching call. I said, when you see fitness Karolina, what is her day like? And she's like, well, she gets up, she washes her face, she puts on her makeup, she cleans up her apartment. Okay, so every time you do those things, you would be putting coins in that jar because you're moving yourself down the number line. You're moving yourself towards that. But then if you had a binge, but you chose to eat your next meal normally, like you ate your normal meal next, you would now be, because that's what Fitness Karolina would do. Fitness Karolina would take care of herself, even if she overate, even if she were to have a binge, because that behavior maybe still pops up from time to time. She would eat her next normal meal because she doesn't want to abuse herself with food. She's not going to punish herself more. And she kind of saw this through a totally different lens. And I think that this is a way that it might help everybody. Like if you see these progressive steps you're taking and you're moving further and further, and the coins in the jar is actually very tangible. It's a way to start to see who you're becoming more of. It's not to say you're at any one distinct place in that moment, but you can see where you're making better contributions versus, oh my gosh, I just binged. I'm not going to track my food. I'm going to keep this cycle going. And maybe tomorrow, as my lower brain likes to say, maybe tomorrow I will wake up and be ready to tackle the world. Then I won't binge. No. What can you do right now? Because the ideal version you're trying to go to, that person is, because the reason I know this is I've been both. I've lived on both ends of the spectrum. When I overeat, or if I were to have a binge right now, I would not keep that cycle going. I wouldn't believe my lower brain when it says, let's keep going, we'll start over tomorrow. I know that's not true. So, but at one point in my journey, when I was at -10, totally would have believed it. Totally would have kept going. I know, because that's how I got over 300 pounds. Because I listened and I believed it was going to happen like that. And you want to wake up and believe you're going to be the fitness version of yourself. And that's going to be when you slay all the dragons and you get your act together. But it doesn't work that way. It's a very slow progression from one side of the number line to the other, but it's made with every single decision. It's not a one and done. It's not a, I got this down, now what? No. Every day that goes by, your day is full of 24 hours. In every one of those 24 hours, tons of decisions can be made. And you're either contributing towards the old version of you and moving in that direction, or you're moving in the other direction. But there's never a finite place you're going to be, okay? And there's times in your life you're going to be a little bit more one way versus the other, depending on what's going on, and that's okay. But don't think of it as black and white, all or nothing. I'm either this or I'm that, because that's going to hold you back. What can I do right now that somebody who cares for themselves and their body would do? That's where you're wanting to move towards. All right, guys, give Karolina's coaching a listen. I think it'll help a lot of people because we have dived into so much stuff, like her home, dating, celebrating her birthday. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this journey. It's not just eating a candy bar. It's not just having fast food a couple times a week. I wish it was that simple. But I find as I work with somebody, I pull one string and then there's another string and then there's another string. And that's really the power of one-on-one coaching is I get to get in your life, see what's going on and help you. You may not be able to afford me or somebody else as a coach, but listening to somebody consistently getting coached, you can glean those lessons for yourself. So again, if you want to follow this series, I think we'll be releasing them all the way through December 2022, maybe into the new year a little bit. It'll depend. But these are going out every other week in the podcast premium. I think it's a great value. If you go check it out, halfsizeme.com/fan, you can get all the deets. And I will talk to you soon.